that you do. They changed the dashboard a little bit, so I'm trying to work my way around here, but nonetheless, we're here. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're chiming in from. I want to welcome all of our newest members, at least to our Saturday locker room. Super excited to have all the newest members that's joining in for the very first time. What we do, we come together on Saturdays and we really go over a bunch of different things, but more specifically, we talk about things around leadership. We talk about things in terms of increasing people's financial literacy. We talk about how this project fits in the global scheme of what's happening around the world. I want everyone to understand we are the tip of the spear in terms of being able to show people and empower people how to become more financially astute and start receiving unavoidable residual cash flow. For a lot of you, this is your first rodeo in the people-to-people space. And so we want to help you understand that we take this very, very seriously. And we go over so many different things. And sometimes we may say some things that rub you the wrong way. When that happens, and we share this every Saturday, just charge it to our head and not our hearts, because we're not here to offend anybody. We just got our hands on something very, very special. And we want to see each and every last one of you win. Okay, this is a home base for those of you that are in the people-to-people space and you've tried different things before. So having said that, I want to encourage everyone to take out pen and paper and take some copious notes, because we got some things that we're going to be covering today that's very, very important. We're going to be talking today about being OCD, about creating wealth for you and your family. You got to be very, very obsessive about doing that. And we're going to also be talking about how you can frame things. It's so important to frame things when you're dealing with potential strategic partners, because I find this to be critically important when I look at people who have success in the people-to-people space versus those who don't have success. A lot of times it has to do with how they frame things. But I want to start off by talking to you guys today about being very obsessive relative to going after your wealth and your goals and dreams. We put some things in the Telegram this past week talking about how Visa is setting up things with stable coins and creating a platform for CBDC, more or less. There are things that's happening at the speed of light, ladies and gentlemen, that a lot of our friends and family, they don't know about. Because of this community, you guys are becoming aware of the things that's happening, because so many people are distracted by politics and all of these other distraction factors that I like to call it, and they're missing what's really happening. We're talking about the greatest shift in wealth in human history. Our entire financial infrastructure is being blown up and being redesigned. And the people, the communities, and the companies that are aware of this, they're going to be able to write their own ticket financially. So it's very, very important that you really plug into this thing and take this business very, very seriously. And so having said that, one of the things that you want to do is you want to treat it like a business. We touched on it last week. This is not a program. I hear people talk about businesses in the people-to-people space. They call it programs. This is not anything about welfare or Section 8, and I'm not, discounting any of that. I'm just saying to you guys that this is a business and it's not a program, and you want to treat it with that multi-billion-dollar mindset moving forward, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dive right into this. I'm going to talk to you guys really quickly about framing, okay? And so let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. And move forward here. And we're going to be talking about framing. And I really, really want you guys to really, really pay attention here, because this is a critical success factor. A lot of us have heard the terminology that, perception is reality, or some people like to say, I like to keep it real. But what's real for you may not be real for me, because it's all about perception, okay? And what I find is that a lot of people, the wealth that they're looking to achieve, they're just a few degrees to the left or to the right in terms of how they perceive reality. Because I'm here to tell you guys, when you start making money, it's not going to be because anything outside of yourself changed. That's not how it works. When you start making money and your lifestyle starts to increase, it's going to be because inwardly you shifted. How you perceive reality changes, how you handle things that come towards you in life, okay? How you handle those things and your perception of it is what's going to be the difference maker. I can tell you guys, this week has been an incredibly challenging week for me. But the bottom line is this, is that because of years of conditioning, you learn how to deal with things in a way that you can evaluate them and move forward. So how you frame things is critically important. And so how you view things is how you do things. So one of the things that I want to share with you guys is this. You guys see this on my screen here, right? And I want to show this to you guys because people will look at what we offer them sometimes, and because it's different from the way in which we've been programmed and conditioned to earn money, a lot of you will hear people say scam, and they don't even know what that means. They just don't understand it because they have been conditioned how they frame making money, okay, is different from how wealthy people do. This was something I pulled from this gentleman. He was talking about in Sweden, right? The average life expectancy in Sweden is 82 years of age in Sweden. Very, very happy over there. And he was breaking down this chart here in the 984 months. This is all about framing, right? 984 months equals 82 years. And what you guys see here is basically going to school here. And then in the red are the years that you work. And then here is your retirement. The vast majority, the best years of our life, all right, is about trading hours for dollars, being a wage slave. And then people have the audacity to look at something that can help liberate them from doing that to say it's a scam when they've already been scammed. There is no way in the world that we're here to work the best years of our life trading hours for dollars for a man-made fictitious idea called money. And so I want you guys to look at it from this perspective. What we're doing is we're showing people how to get rid of all this right here, how to stop being a wage slave, and how to have unavoidable residual cash flow coming in. Once again, it's all about framing. So don't deal emotionally with people that don't see what you see. Okay, you hold on to what you see in your perception, and you're looking for people whose opinion match yours. It's just as simple as that. So having said that, I want to talk to you guys about this real quickly. We talk about being a bank, right? And everything that we're going to be talking about here is to help you have the proper framework for yourself. And then once you expose people to the information, you can then articulate the proper framing for them, because people are looking at this, but they're not seeing it. So let's talk about this. Cooperative finances versus banks, right? I'm going some high level here, so really stay with me. I know for some of you it's early in the morning, but we got to go over this because you guys need to understand that there is no greater opportunity than being your own bank. All right. So credit worthiness. I want to compare cooperative finance to banks. You guys can see here, cooperative finance, like banks, we make decisions to originate a loan to a borrower based on certain information. So you guys know for banks, for instance, they arrive at a credit decision by assessing a borrower's credit history, their current income level, and any available collateral, you know, what they own, not what they're still paying on, but what they actually own. And this process allows banks to assess the credit worthiness of individuals with whom they haven't had a previous relationship with, right? That's how banks determine credit worthiness. Now, in our environment, this is important to understand. This is about framing. In contrast, we rely on a person's social capital and trust network to assess a participant's credit worthiness in order to grant him or her access to the capital. Why am I going over this with you guys? Because you need to understand that the social capital, that is your relationships. That is the warm market relationships that you have, that you're in relationship with friends and different people, because there's a trust network there. There should be trust there, right? But having said that, just like any business, you have to make sure the credit worthiness of those that you're going to bring on, they are people that follow through on what they say they're going to do. They're people that hold on to their word, if that makes sense to everyone. And if you're in a relationship with people that don't do that, then you have to do a checkup from the neck up, reevaluate that situation, and create some new relationships. All right. You want to be in a relationship with people that you can count on and they can count on you. Who are the people that if you were stranded on the side of the road, that you would call and they would show up? because you're stranded on the side of the road? Who would be the people that you would be in your wedding, if you will, that would be, your best man or your bridesmaid? These are the people that are part of your social capital. And the reason why I'm going over this, you guys, is because relationships have become so transactional. All right. And that's part of the problem. And so we live in a society now where we're putting profit over people. And before money came about, it was always about the people over any kind of profit, if that makes sense to everyone. So it's really about being associated with people that you have a connection with, because the greatest resource on planet Earth today, all right, is the human resource. That's the truth of the matter. So once again, credit worthiness in your bank, right, is going to be based on your social capital. You have friends that you can trust that can keep their word, and you have friends that are a little bit shady. Don't just invite somebody to be in business with you because they can fog up a mirror. You want to make sure that you're inviting people that you can connect with at the heart and say, hey, listen, I got something that is literally a guarantee. It's 100% a choice and not a chance. We can be our own bank, okay? And so I want to break that down so you guys understand creditworthiness of how a bank looks at it, and creditworthiness in terms of how you need to look at it in terms of being a bank owner. Once again, we're talking about framing here, and how you view things is how you do things. So now, based on this information and this knowledge base, you're not just going to bring any Tom, Dick, and Harry into your network, just like a bank is not going to give a loan to anyone that lacks credit worthiness. Make sense so far? Now, let's talk about another frame. Cost of capital. People don't understand this, but money costs money. Okay? Now, let's compare cooperative finance to a bank. Now, this is what you guys need to understand. If you think of cooperative finance as a series of loans and debt service payments amongst participants, because we are both lenders and borrowers, right? We get to own and loan the bank at the very same time, all right? So if we look at it from that perspective, then the question that you have to ask yourself is whether the cost associated with obtaining the needed capital through a cooperative is better, cheaper, and or faster than a bank. And I'm here to tell you guys that it is. Once again, what are we doing? We're framing here. Because once you have the proper frame, then you understand the proper value proposition that you're communicating with your prospects with after they've looked at a presentation. So when you look at a bank, just to give you guys an example, the cost of a loan, if you were to borrow $400,000 from a bank, 30-year fixed mortgage at 7.5%, do you guys know that you would actually pay over $1 million for a $400,000 loan? Now that's the cost of capital for a bank, and they call it a total interest percentage. That's an incredible tip that you're giving a bank, all right, when you're actually borrowing money from them at 7.5%, and you pay that mortgage, that $400,000 loan over a 30-year time period, right? That's like $600,000. You're actually paying more for the loan for borrowing that money. Now let's look at what we have. Within STM participants, once again, we're both the lender and the borrower at the same time. Let me help you guys understand how this works. Lenders in our environment, which is the $28 a month, can earn a high returns based on our internal rate of return. That is something in the finance world that if you're not familiar with, it just talks about, it's like a return on your investment, if you will. All right. Compared to savings and investment products offered by banks, while borrowers, which we are as well, can borrow money at 0% interest. Let me read this again, because the reason why I really want to take my time here, team, is because this is the major league of business. This is not a Rudy Poot fly-by-night operation. Lenders in our environment can earn higher returns based on our internal rate of return, which I'm going to break down for you guys here in just a second, compared to savings and investment products offered by banks, while borrowers, which we are, can borrow money at a 0% 3% interest rate. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about the internal rate of return in our environment. It's right here. I want you guys, once again, we're framing here, right? Who gets to control the internal rate of return in our ecosystem? We do. This is where it's 100% a choice and not a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, this is bigger than winning the lottery. This is the thing that blows me away, but I understand why people are looking but not seeing it, because they've been conditioned, their framework in terms of how they perceive things, all right, has been based on educational institutions, political institutions, culture, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, you have to divorce yourself from that and realign your thinking and your perception of reality and how you frame things. Hopefully this is making sense. So when I talk about the internal rate, okay, of return, in your first week, you're looking to identify 3 people that are willing to receive a token and activate their own bank. And when you do that, you're going to receive $29 as an internal rate of return for investing, all right, into 3 people's human capital one time. And we're talking about doing this in 7 days or less. So that's the rate, okay, in terms of how fast we're moving. So now in your second week, in their second week, your 3 strategic partners, they're going to do the exact same thing. They're going to identify 3 people that have credit worthiness, the social capital they've exercised in your life, credit worthiness. And they're going to go ahead and have their accounts activated. And when that happens, they're going to receive the $29 as an internal rate of return for that. And you automatically go up to $47 in monthly reoccurring revenue. Make sense? When these strategic partners do the exact same thing in 7 days or less, guess what? Their rate of return, they're going to receive $29 just as you and your 3 strategic partners did. But as a consequence of that, your strategic partners went to 47 and it took you to $96 in unavoidable residual cash flow. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole thing. You guys understand the story is the story here. But you need to look at this as an internal rate of return. Don't look at it as a compensation plan, because one of our guiding principles is what? Words talk, but numbers scream, right? So when you understand that you're identifying 3 strategic partners that have credit worthiness, in other words, the social capital of your relationship is there. There's a trust network there, and you want to leverage and lean in on that when you're talking to your 3. The 3 people that you choose, let them know you trust them, and they need to trust you. And you found an idiot-proof, 100% guaranteed way to have monthly recurring revenue coming into their coffers. People is really just that literal. So as this thing gets duplicated, and we're talking about everyone doing it in 7 days or less, this is the internal rate of return within our bank. We get to control it. The traditional banks don't get to control the interest rate. We get to control the rate of return in our environment here. And I'm sharing this with you because this is how I frame things, and this is how I deal with people. And this is when you want to attract higher caliber people even, you need to help them understand it from this kind of perspective, if that makes sense, okay? So once again, there's a cost of capital, right? And then you got to also look at credit worthiness just like a bank does. And now you see the comparison in our environment that we're infinitely better than a traditional bank. And this is all because of blockchain. Okay? So in our environment, what we're talking about doing is we give one time to receive all the time. Right? We give one time to receive all the time. But behaving like a bank, let me give you a different framework to look at it. All right? You lend one time, that's 3 strategic partners, to borrow all the time at a 0% interest rate, team. This is what we're doing. This is what we have our hands on. So don't let anybody rain on your parade when it comes to this particular business model. I'm telling you guys right now, we're working on some things behind the scenes that's going to rock your world here in the very near future. Okay. So trust me when I tell you, we are a community here in terms of what we're doing. All right. The social capital that we and the trust network that we have. This is what it's all about. And let me help you understand what I mean by that here real quickly. Let me get myself out of the way. Okay. What I want you guys to look at here, okay? You guys have seen this picture before when we do our presentation. What makes this all possible is social capital, which is our relationships, the trust network, and blockchain and artificial intelligence, and we're looking to connect these wallets all across the world. So when we start talking about social capital, team, all we're talking about is a set of shared values or resources that allows individuals to work together effectively to achieve a common purpose. We're talking about coordinating our economic value. But we can't coordinate our economic value if we don't build community, okay? If we don't look at things differently. This is not about competing. This is about completing. It's about being unified as a global community, irregardless of your religious persuasion, irregardless of your skin color. None of that stuff matters here. We're part of the human race, and it's about coordination, okay? So it's all about our social capital. And so that's reflected when you look at this in these dots here. Every individual, every charity, every church, every small business startup, it's part of the social capital. It's part of our human capital, okay? It's all about people over profit, all right? Now, when we speak about the trust network, right, we're talking about resilience. We're talking about trusting in one another. I'm originally from New York City. All right. One of the things we used to say coming up, word is bond. Like what you have is your word. There's nothing more valuable than your word and a firm handshake. And so there's a lot of people that get involved in the people-to-people space and they don't keep their word. They're here 1 week, but then they're gone for, a month. Then they show up and then they expect everyone to drop everything to entertain their questions when they didn't give to the community. All right. They weren't trustworthy. They just wanted to take from the community. And as soon as a shiny object came along, they jumped on something else only to go to another shiny object. What I want you guys to understand is that the social capital and trust network of some of the people that I'm associated with, the word is bond. Douglas Ford is a brother from another mother. His word is bond. Corinthia Stack, Bridget Copeland Harris, Terry Malone, okay, and others. I don't want to continue to go on. I shouldn't even start naming names because I don't want anyone to feel left out. You guys know who you are. Everyone is about your word being bond. So if there's a locker room on Saturday, guess where you need to be unless there's just something that comes up, maybe a death in the family and things of that nature. You need to be here. I'm here on Saturday, simply every Saturday, and there's volleyball games, there's family functions that I could be doing, but I'm here on Saturday because we're building something extremely special, okay? So you have to make the same kind of sacrifice if you're going to have a certain lifestyle that you're looking to create for yourself, all right? So the trust network is the lines. This is the connection between the social capital. If there is no trust, then you can't build anything solid. This is the mortar between the bricks that build something solid, okay? The third thing is blockchain and artificial intelligence, that we're able to leverage decentralization and automation because of artificial intelligence. And this creates it being permissionless. And everything is going blockchain. We've talked about this before. Whether you like it or not, whether you understand it or not, everything is going to be on the blockchain, which is nothing but an open ledger, okay? And then AI. And so the whole world is going to be covered in blockchain. So I want you guys to understand what we have compared to the current system, team. All right? Look at this here. Self-reliance within our community. We get to control that self-reliance. That internal rate of return of revenue, we get to control that. Whereas when you look at the current system, there's reliance on a third party. They get to control that. In our environment, the capital, the money goes to the participants because we're the bank. In their environment, it goes to the shareholders. In our environment, it's inclusive. In our environment, we can help access. In their environment, there's still 2 billion people that are unbanked on this planet. In our environment, we can help the 2 billion people that's, unbanked get involved in our ecosystem. In our environment, it's decentralized risk, which is really no risk because it's 100% a choice, not a chance. All a person has to do is choose to accept the token, and all a person has to do is choose to give 3 tokens to 3 people that choose to accept the token with a predictable outcome of unavoidable residual cash flow based on that one-time execution. In their environment, it's excessive risk-taking. It's a chance putting your money in the stock market that's ran by algorithms where the casino, the house always wins. In our environment, we're talking about aligned interests with the users. We have a shared value system. We believe in people over profit because the profit will take care of itself when we put our attention on the real value, and that's people, right? In their environment, that's a conflict of interest, right? Because they want to stay on top of the food chain. They want to control everything shaking and moving. And we'll talk about that next week when we start delving into CBDCs and things of that nature. In our environment, it's bottom up, team. It's permissionless. We don't have to ask anybody for a pay raise. We don't have to ask anyone whether can we give them a person a token or not. They don't have to ask anyone whether they can receive a token or not. This is permissionless. The only thing standing in the way of going from zero to hero is how we've been conditioned to look at things. And today was about reframing and looking at things in a more advantageous way for the masses. In their environment, the current system is top down. They want it to be about being permissioned and things of that nature and control. If that makes sense to everyone. So team, it's really, really important that you take the time to take this very, very seriously, what we're talking about today, reframing things, being OCD about creating wealth so that we can disrupt this industry in the people-to-people space, that we're really building a business. This is not a program, right? Because the idea of it being a program means that we got our hands out expecting someone to give us something for nothing. No, this is a business, and the results are based on us executing a one-time execution of giving a token for the 3 people one time, and they turn around and do the exact same thing one time in 7 days or less. We get to control the internal rate of revenue that comes in, okay? And we can literally show a person how to go from zero to hero in record time with this project here. So I wanted to cover that with you guys